Hello everybody, it's vanburman here. Welcome back to another first impressions video today. This is my first impressions video for Total War Saga Thrones of Britannia. I think that's the correct way. I'm actually now going to double check because that would be slightly awkward. Total War Saga Thrones of Britannia, correct. So to start off with, I must say this is one of my favourite eras in history for them to do a Total War on. Obviously the next one that's coming out is one of my other ones as well, the Three Kingdoms. So yeah, it's quite nice to see that. I always usually, you know, play as England or Britain or any of those variants as and when I can. So it's nice to see us getting a full-scale, you know, UK map again, which obviously we do in this particular one. And there's a decent, I would say decent amount of factions to start off with. I think you've got 5 sets of 2, so 10 factions to begin with. The issue obviously is that when you have a map of this size, or when you have a territory this size, so for example like Shogun, like this, you obviously only have minor variants in, you know, unit choices, playstyles, but I feel as though Creative Assembly have done their best to try and add different flavours to each particular, not particular faction, but each section that they put them in. So you've obviously got the English kingdoms, the Welsh kingdoms, the Viking kingdoms. You've got they're called Sea Vikings, and then you've got, I can't remember what they're called, and the Celtic as well. So those 5 have got their own different mechanics that are built in, and that helps you. That changes your playstyle to obviously marry up with how Creative Assembly have envisaged them being, you know, historically how they would have reacted, I suppose, as a faction. So in doing so, I'm playing as Mercia, which is, well, it's going to be the one I'm going to go towards because, you know, they're obviously generally centralised in the area where I'm from. So yeah, you know, I just thought it's good to do that. I also played as them in Attila as well, so that was quite cool. And obviously I played as the Iceni in Rome Total War 2, which is just obviously a British tribe, but still, nevertheless, it's always good to see. You know, I did know Mercia were going to be in there, Wessex were going to be in there, because I have watched some of the videos prior. Not that it would have made a difference, you know, I still would have enjoyed the game if I had to have played as a Welsh or a Gaelic kingdom, not an issue. To start off with, I've only really played this for about an hour so far, so I suppose I should have said this at the beginning. If you want a more in-depth and coherent overview, then it's probably better off talking to some of the people or watching the videos of some of the people who have had it for a lot longer than myself, because I've, as I say, played about an hour. So I recorded my first turn, was it first turn or first 2 turns? And I played it for a bit after this, and then now I'm making the initial first impression. So in terms of battles, they're pretty much, you know, as you would expect. I thought I would hate the look of the unit cards and the you know, the look of the UI, but it all is stylized to look that way, and it all sort of fits in quite well. You know, the opening movies are done in, or the cutscenes, quote unquote, are done in that style as well, so all of that is very nice to see, and it does obviously work quite well for the time span as well. Now, moving from, I suppose, the last Total War games being the Warhammer ones, this one feels a lot more like a traditional Total War game. The battles do feel they feel a little bit better than Attila, but I feel like they're fundamentally the same. There have been some tweaks. I know obviously they delayed the release of the game just to give them more time to work on certain aspects of the battle engine. So, you know, that's obviously done some good, because the couple of battles I have played have been quite good. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should go back to the medieval 2 style of battles, where, you know, you slog it out for an hour at a time, although I did thoroughly enjoy, you know, that aspect of it. But I feel as though, you know, we're on the right trajectory now. If they carry on with this, how they are going forward, then that would be good. You know, for the more historical ones, that would be good going forward. I don't feel as though I'm talking about Three Kingdoms too much in this particular video, but yeah, the Three Kingdoms one will be probably more towards the Warhammer type of thing than this. That would be a shame, in my opinion, but we can't judge it yet, because we don't actually know. Or I don't know, so I can't judge it. Yeah, that way around. So far, yes, and there's the politics and intrigue looks really interesting. A lot of it is still quite overwhelming at the minute, but I like the way they have organised stuff, how they brought different things in. The game is definitely going to be a lot more brutal this time round. There's a lot more to worry about. It's not just as simple as, oh, I've got to build a big massive army and go and slam into that army and we're going to have a big massive battle. Those sort of things feel like they're going to take a lot more setting up to do than previous. It does feel that, you know, every action you take can potentially have, you know, really big consequences. So I was just given one of the random events where it's like, yeah, we need to spend we can spend some money, you know, we get a temporary buff to our farms or our economy or our unit replenishment, whatever it happens to be. And yeah, so I chose one that did for the nobles, but in doing so, to get more, to increase our economy, I then ended up making one of the nobles have too much influence, which then, you know, warned me that there'd be a challenge to my king. So, yeah, stuff like that you just don't consider, you know, now make a real big difference. So we've just missed it, but in this part of the video, one of the things I did really like is, if you noticed, I had some archers there, and I broke the enemy's, I don't know if they were spears or swords, but anyway, so they were broken, they were fleeing. So my archers actually managed to stop them from going, and they actually drew out their swords and started attacking them. So it seems to be a bit more of a collision detection than I've seen before. Usually I've seen them, they'll just almost run through the guys, and you know, they'll almost run through the archers, and then, you know, you might get a couple of glancing shots off now and again at them. But in this one, it actually seemed to have a physical barrier between them and being able to progress. So I could be wrong. That might just be me playing tricks on me, but I believe that is a new feature. It seems to be. Anyway, I don't know. It's very minor. It may not be. Maybe I've played too much Warhammer. That's probably the reason. The politics seems much the same as before, if I'm being absolutely totally honest. Obviously, you know, marriages and that sort of stuff play a really big role at this, you know, in this period in history, not actually throughout history altogether. But yeah, and they, you know, do have big buffs to your diplomatic relations with other factions. So that's quite nice. The fact that, you know, they put more of an emphasis on that style of you know, political intrigue than perhaps we've seen for a good while now. The other point, the other point I wanted to make is that the not so much the skill tree for the generals is a lot nicer now. It's obvious it's still not potentially as good as, you know, Shogun 2. Shogun 2 is pretty much the barometer to judge all of the things by, but you can see it here just on this character tab. So on the right is all of the is how you can level them up effectively. So I mean, it looks very clean. It's, you know, it gives you enough information for you to make an informed decision, and yeah, I don't really feel as though I have any issues with that at all. It's better than it has been done previously, so that's always good. And yeah, going forward, I mean, obviously these are just early impressions, so going forward I don't know how I will feel about that later on in the game, but yeah, it does seem to look like it will work quite well in the long haul. So the point I'm going to make about the game being quite brutal, I didn't actually record this bit because it's after I was playing, so I wanted to create a third army just because Mercia's got that much land and it covers that much of an area, there's that many people around you that, you know, I feel as though probably 3 armies could just about cover any offensive actions by, you know, any of the other offensive actions by any of the other factions. Yes, that's what I mean. And so I decided to create a third army. I don't know why. In the end, so the two took one guy, and he only had one loyalty in a province where I had a pretty negative public order. So I decided to bin him off and get a new one. And then he only had two loyalty. And I was like thinking, the game is really trying to mess me around right now. Like I can tell that it wants me to experience like some sort of civil war or some uprising or whatever it happens to be. So I'm looking forward to dealing with that when we get to it. I do have, my other two armies are fairly strong, I suppose. If they were fighting on the battlefield together, they'd probably rival any single army in the game currently. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see how that plays out. I mean, it's the first playthrough could end tragically, but you know, we'll carry on, we'll see how it goes. I'll obviously be making a video much later on, probably potentially when I'm sort of end game, when I've had enough time to judge all of the different facets of the game, and obviously
recruited
yeah,
low strength.
naturally. So yeah, do I recommend going out and buying it if you're into your Total Wars, and even if you, yeah, I suppose if you specifically like this period in history, then it's a bit of a no-brainer. But if you're into your Total Wars and you want something, or you feel as though Total War has been perhaps really too watered down, or you don't feel as though it's been much of a challenge previously, because obviously some people are terribly good at this game, much better than myself, then I feel like this is the one for you to go and try. And I feel as though, obviously this is still very early, but if they carry on in this vein going forward for the other Saga games, which obviously are meant to be a bit lower budget, hence the price tag, I think it was like 25 quid, 26 quid, which is pretty decent, then yes, this Total War Saga thing could be good going forward overall, which is a bit bizarre because I was more very fearful for the Saga series, to be honest with you. But it looks like they have put in a decent amount of effort with this one. Obviously, still feels very akin to Attila, and if you're really not that fussed about it, then you could go back and play the Age of Charlemagne. You'd get pretty much similar experience, but having said that, I prefer the way this game feels to Age of Charlemagne. There's a lot. It feels a lot more coherent than that. It feels a lot deeper than that. But you'll have to go and experience that for yourselves. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed my rambling first impressions video. Could have been a bit better. I didn't write a script or anything, which is probably the issue. But yes, we will have a more, I don't know if I'm going to call it a review or not, because I'll probably have only been playing as Mercia. But yeah, I'll call it a review. Why not? Whatever. Extra clicks, right? Then yeah, we'll do a review later on when I'm a bit more end game, when I've had a lot more time with it. And yeah, any questions, comments, queries, leave them down below, and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching, guys. See you all on the next one. Goodbye.